You know, some of the most complex machines we've ever built, I'm talking particle accelerators, supercomputers, they don't start with some 1,000-page manual. Nope. They often start with a simple plan, a single page that maps out a multi-billion-dollar vision. And today, that's what we're doing. We're going to deconstruct one of those plans to understand the incredible machine it brought to life, Europe's next-gen rocket, the Ariane 6.
But here's the thing. This isn't just an engineering puzzle. At its core, it's a business problem. And it all boils down to one critical question. In a brand new space race, one that's defined by these aggressive private companies, how does an entire continent make sure it can get to orbit and actually stay in the game? The stakes? Well, they're sky high.
And you know what? This isn't a new problem. Way back in 2007, the European Space Policy Institute basically saw this coming. They pointed out that the real goal isn't just about building a better rocket. It's about making the ride to orbit way, way cheaper. Because when you drop the price of the ticket, a whole universe of new possibilities just opens right up.
And that is absolutely crucial, because the entire game has been flipped on its head. We're now in the era of new space. The old way of doing things, these slow, government-led projects, is getting totally outpaced by nimble, private companies that are slashing costs at a speed nobody even thought was possible.
Okay, let's dive in. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to take a look at this new competitive battlefield. Then, we'll pull back the curtain on that simple one-page tool that's at the heart of Europe's whole strategy. We'll peek inside the Ariane 6 itself, break down how it's designed to make money, and finally, we'll ask what this blueprint really means for the future.
All right, so first, let's set the scene. For decades, Europe was kind of the king of the hill in the commercial launch business, with its workhorse, the Ariane 5 rocket. But now, it's facing some serious heat from new players who aren't just playing the same game, they're literally rewriting the rules for how much it costs to get to space.
So how in the world do you respond to that level of disruption? Well, you don't start with a bunch of complex engineering drawings. You start with a plan. A clear, focused, and in this case, a really simple tool that lets you see an entire multi-billion-euro strategy at a glance.
And that tool? It's called the Business Model Canvas. Seriously, forget those 100-page business plans that just collect dust. This is like a strategic blueprint for your business, all on one page. It visually maps out everything that matters, who your customers are, what you're offering them, and how you actually, make money. It's less of a report and more of a blueprint for action.
And here it is. This is the entire game plan for the Ariane 6, all laid out on one canvas. And what's so cool about this is how it takes this gigantic, continent-spanning project and just boils it down into 9 simple, connected blocks. You see on the right, that's your customers and how you bring in cash. Over on the left, that's what it costs and who you need to partner with. And right there in the middle, that's the value you're delivering. It's all right here. This is Europe's strategy in a single glance.
Okay, so we've seen the plan on paper. Now let's see how that becomes a reality on the launch pad. The Ariane 6 is the physical result of that blueprint. It's Europe's strategic answer, built of metal and fire, designed to take on the challenges of this new space era.
And let's be clear, this is not the work of one company or even one country. It's a massive team effort led by the European Space Agency and the prime contractor Ariane Group. And it pulls together a network of over 600 companies. And they all share one critical goal, making absolutely sure that Europe can launch its own missions, its own way, without having to rely on anyone else. But here it is. This is the single most important number for the whole project, and it's got nothing to do with thrust or how much it can carry. It's all about cost. The number one mission for Ariane 6 was to slash the launch price by 40 to 50% compared to the Ariane 5. This tells you everything you need to know. This rocket isn't just a tech upgrade, it's a total financial reboot.
So with that laser focus on cost, how does this leaner rocket actually plan on making money? Let's zoom back into our business blueprint and check out the right side of the canvas, the part that's all about bringing in the cash.
We're looking at 2 key blocks here, customer segments and revenue streams. In plain English, who are they selling to and what exactly are those customers paying for? This right here is the financial engine of the whole operation.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. The main income, of course, is from standard launch services, hauling satellites up for companies and governments, but they're backing that up with pre-order payments to lock in future business, steady government contracts for Europe's own missions, R&D funding, and even extra services like helping get the payloads ready to fly.
All right, let's flip the coin. A rocket program this big comes with some enormous bills. So what are the big cost drivers that this new business model is trying to get under control?
Back to the blueprint we go, and now we're focusing on the left side, the cost structure, and the key partnerships that make the whole thing work. Put simply, this is where all the money goes.
So where does a budget that big actually go? Well, the big ticket items are probably what you'd guess. It all kicks off with the huge cost of R&D. Then you've got the incredibly complex manufacturing and engineering. Add to that the direct costs for every single launch, the day-to-day operational stuff, and of course, the marketing you need to win deals in this super competitive market.
And this slide is just wow. It shows you the mind-boggling complexity that's hiding in that one little box labeled manufacturing. This is not one factory, it's a supply chain that's basically a continental dance. Every single piece you see here, from the engines to the electronics, is built by a specialist company in one of 13 different countries. Then, it all has to get shipped and put together perfectly at the launch site. Managing this whole ballet is absolutely key to hitting that 50% cost reduction target.
So, what does this all boil down to for the customer? Well, it's this. Ariane 6 comes in two flavors. You've got the 62 with 2 boosters, which will run you about 75 million euros, and the heavy lift 64 with 4 boosters, priced around 115 million euros. These are the price tags designed to make Europe a heavy hitter again for a whole range of missions.
Okay, so after all of that, what's the big picture here? Let's zoom out from the canvas one last time and ask what this model really stands for. Is this just a blueprint for one rocket, or could it actually be a model for something much bigger?
The key insight is this. The Ariane 6 model is really a playbook for the modern public-private partnership. It's a potential template for any massive, strategically important project, and it shows how you can blend the long-term vision of government with the speed and efficiency of private industry.
You can really boil this whole strategy down to 3 core ingredients. First, you build a real partnership, where the government acts as both a guide and a guaranteed first customer. Second, you make cost reduction part of the design from the very beginning, not something you tack on later. And third, you build a wide customer base, so you're serving both government and commercial clients to make sure you're always in demand.
But all of this leaves us with one final massive question. This entire blueprint, this whole strategy, is designed to perfect the single-use, expendable rocket. It's about making it as lean and as efficient as humanly possible. But in an industry that's now being completely reshaped by reusable rockets, is being the absolute best at the old game going to be enough to win the future of space?